Hi everyone, it is Tony here from Custom PCs Australia, bringing you some more Starfield content. Now, one of the most unique and expansive systems that Starfield is offering is the ship customization system. And there are not many games that allow this level of customization and creativity. It's going to have a major impact on one of the main gameplay systems of Starfield as a whole. Bethesda has described the systems as starting at a spaceport, and we actually get to see some of the options that a spaceport engineer or vendor. Talking to this non-player character gave you a list of different options. First off, being a full repair to your ship. This specific ship was going to cost this player 1,000 credits to fully repair. There's an option to view and modify ships. You're going to have to be at a spaceport to fully modify and upgrade the different components of any of your different ships. They also have an option to see what ships this spaceport has on offer to purchase, because you can also purchase complete new ships from all the different spaceports, and presumably all the different factions are also going to have their own vendors to be able to purchase their own specific types of ships from. They're probably all going to be completely different depending on what faction you're buying from or what spaceport you're buying from. You'll also be able to sell things, so this may be just selling anything, or it may be specifically towards your different ships. Maybe you're able to obtain different ship parts throughout different gameplay in the system. Or maybe you'll be able to just sell whole ships to the different spaceports. And then the final option is asking where you can get new crew for your ships. I would imagine there will also be opportunities at different spaceports or in different settlements to go find your new crews, specifically to crew your different spaceships. Now, once you go into the ship modification system, there's actually going to be two different ways to go about modifying or upgrading your ship. There's a more basic form that just lets you apply different pieces directly to your ship very quickly, either applying new pieces or just upgrading pieces you currently have. Or there's the completely custom ship builder mode, which will allow you to fully customize and add any different pieces you want to your ship. Fully customizing the location of every piece, being able to completely redesign your ships to make them look however you want. Attach different pieces together however you want, and even be able to fully customize the different colors of all the different pieces of that ship. This was even shown off in some different pieces of the Starfield showcase, where developers showed off making a ship look like a platypus, and then making a ship look like this big transforming robot. You'll have so many different options on making your ship look exactly how you want it to look, or look exactly like basically anything else you want it to look like, and it doesn't seem like you'll have to follow conventions of space travel in any different way. As mentioned, they just made some massive robot that still was able to fly, so it seems like the shipbuilding system isn't going to have to follow any sort of realism, which I think is really good, because it just allows you to be as creative as you want. Now, when you're in the full ship builder mode, you'll be able to customize and move around or upgrade or change every single piece of the ship, and this includes a lot of different pieces and possibilities. You have cowling, which is primarily there to change the look or silhouette of your ship. You have shield generators, which would obviously be to shield your ship from damage. You have docking compartments, which you're going to need in certain areas to be able to dock with other ships if you want to dock in space. Not sure if you're going to need all these different pieces, or if you're just going to want to add them if you want to partake in different pieces of content. You're going to have fuel tanks, which is going to be pretty important for further travelling. We don't know exactly how fuel tanks are going to work. I don't think you're able to actually run out of fuel, but fuel tanks are more a meter that shows how far you can actually travel in that specific ship. You have grav drives, which are going to let you jump through space. They explain this in Starfield as you're basically folding space, and then going through that folded piece of space to allow you to jump to different galaxies, or jump very far distances. Having a better grav drive is going to allow you to jump even further distances. Then you have different weapons. You can apply missile ballistics or laser weapons. You have engines, which are going to be very important for movement speed, and potentially you may need even bigger engines to apply bigger fuel tanks to. You then have habs, or habitats, which is where your crew and the walkable interiors of your ship is going to be. Having bigger habs is going to allow you to have more crew. You have your cockpit, which is where you're going to have to be piloting your ship. Presumably having higher tier or bigger cockpits will let more of your crew be in there with you, allowing them to maybe take over controls for weaponry, maybe take over controls for shields, or even fly your ship. Then you have cargo holds, which the bigger they are, the more cargo you'll be able to store within your ship, even allowing you to make full cargo hauling ships with just cargo holds everywhere. You have a reactor which seems to power everything else in the ship, so that'll be very important and will probably be kind of seen as the heart of the ship. If your reactor goes down, you don't have power to anything in your ship, and presumably if your reactor gets hit, it's probably going to blow up. Then you have your bay, which is basically these stairs that open up to allow you to enter and exit your ship. Then you have your landing gear, which is what's going to allow you to land on different planets. Not sure if there'll be a ton of customization options for different landing gears. I'm not exactly sure what different purposes different landing gears can make, besides just changing the look of your ship. Now when changing all these different pieces of your ship, there are going to be a handful of stats you want to keep an eye out for, because all these different sets can potentially change for every piece you're applying to your ship. Now for weapons, you have things like lasers, ballistics and missiles, which will have a number value, presumably showing how much damage they are going to deal. Those are the only three that we know of so far. It doesn't seem like there's going to be any different types of weapons past those three damage types, but there probably will be a bunch of options in those different damaging types. So maybe different missile pods could shoot more missiles, better tracking, maybe ballistics could be some type of railgun or minigun, or something like that. Then you have a hull value which will presumably go up if your hull can take more damage, or will go down when you're taking damage. Lower hull value would mean you can take less damage before the ship basically explodes. You'll have a shield value, which would be how much damage that shield could take before breaking. You have a cargo value, which would be how much cargo your ship could actually hold. You have a max crew amount, so adding more habitats, having a bigger ship would allow you to have a bigger crew. You have a jump range, which is shown in light years. You have a mobility rating, which would presumably be how agile you are in space. So you could make a tighter turn, or you could quickly accelerate or decelerate to try to dodge missiles. Then you have a top speed value, which is pretty self-explanatory. You also have a mass value, so how heavy your ship actually is. And on a side note, there are going to be some character skills you need if you want to further customize your ship. For instance, here's a screenshot where someone was trying to apply a Dragon 231 IR laser to their ship, but they require the Starship design, or rank 1 skill to apply that laser to their ship. And there's going to be multiple different skills that are going to dictate what you're able to do in customization. Now I think some of the most granular customization is going to come within your ship's habitat, or inside your ship's interior, because you're going to be able to be walking around your ship, seeing all of the different crewmates and customizing the insides of your ships. And that's going to change depending on what company you actually buy different ship parts from. So a different cockpit manufacturer could change the look of your cockpit to look like something completely different. You could have mess halls that look different, you could have crew quarters that look completely different. One that was shown off was a different bed that had some pictures put up next to it. Presumably there would be different customization depending on what different types of crew quarters you buy from the different companies. There will be different cargo holds that will look different depending on who you buy it from. There will even be things like adding in research or crafting stations onto your ship, or even adding in weapon storage that will allow you to store and display your different weapons. So presumably if you buy a different weapon storage section from a different company, you would have different display elements to allow you to display more weapons or display them in different ways, and store more or less weapons, so you have the kind of macro customization of your ship. That's all the different ship parts that's primarily going to change the look of the outside of your ship, and change how your ship actually functions. Then you have all of the more micro customization in the interior of your ship that will change the looks and change some of the options that your different crew have while inside that ship. It's been confirmed that you can pilot Starfield ships in first person, a la No Man's Sky, but how about fighting? Yes, there is also confirmed space combat in Starfield. Once the player's ship is fitted out to be the lived-in space they're looking for, Starfield promises intense space combat that will allow players the freedom to destroy, disable, or even board enemy ships. With the freedom of space, players can even choose to run away if the task at hand feels too daunting, either by pumping up the engines and blasting at full speed through an asteroid belt, or by warping to a completely different system entirely. There are tons of decisions that can be made at any moment during a ship encounter, and each one will test the player's skills as a pilot. Having the combat centre around a power allocation system, similar to games like We Need to Go Deeper, gives complete control over their ship. If a player is confident in their flying, they can temporarily sacrifice weapon damage or shield defense in order to blast forward and catch an enemy off guard. Likewise, putting all power towards guns and shields can turn Starfield's ships into flying tanks that can punch through an enemy's defences in a heartbeat. The addition of pinpoint strikes that can take out specific ship systems is also right out of sci-fi media like Star Wars or Star Trek, allowing players to stop ships in their tracks and send them drifting through space. All of these layers come together to give an immersive, controlled feel to ship combat that helps the player become a sci-fi captain from their favourite media series. As director Todd Howard suggests that Starfield is 5 or 6 games in one, and the breadth of content shown in the recent direct seems to complement that by giving the player the chance to live out life across a vast system. And a pretty big addition on top of this is that while you're out in space, you'll be able to commandeer and take other people's ships. This seems to mainly be from docking with ships, taking out their crew or capturing their crew, and then taking that ship for yourself. It does also seem like you'll be able to have people crew your other ships and actually fly your ships when you're not in them. How well that's exactly going to work, I don't really know, but one of the biggest pieces of this is that when you take someone else's ship, you will need to pay quite a lot of credits to register that ship to be able to customize it. So you'll say be in a certain city, a certain spaceport, you'll have to register that ship with them, which will then allow you to bring that ship out and customize it. If you don't register, you're not able to take it to spaceports to repair it or fully customize it, like you would your other ships. Todd Howard has already mentioned that ship customization, kind of like the Outpost, will be a more endgame focused system. Even looking at some of the screenshots and some of the footage they showed during the showcase, fully customizing ships and upgrading them is going to be very expensive. But this is such a massive system that it completely makes sense that you will need a lot of progression and a lot of resources and currency to be able to do whatever you want with all these different ships. And I think unlike Outposts, I think a lot more people are going to partake in ship customization, just because it's going to be a much more integral part of every facet of the game. If you're trying to do the main quest, you're obviously going to have to fly your ship to all the different planets to follow along with the main quest. If you're somebody that just wants to go do side quests, you're still going to need your ship to do that. If you're somebody that wants to do a bunch of outpost stuff, you're going to want to be taking your ship to outposts and go explore all the different planets. So if you want to do basically anything within Starfield, ships are going to be a pretty important role within that. So a lot more people are going to partake in customizing their ship, or at least upgrading their ship. Because if you want to say, go to a planet super far away, you're going to have to increase your gas reserves, potentially increase your gravity drive so you can jump straight to where you want to go, or even add on more habitats to allow more crew onto your ship for those further travels, or even just add on more guns or shields to protect yourself while flying around the universe to go to the different areas you want to go. So I think ship customization has incredible depth and is also kind of force a lot of players into the system, even if it's just at a base level. But that's pretty much all I want to go over for ship customization for now. Thank you for watching. If you haven't already, we would love you to like and subscribe to our channel for more Starfield and PC updates. Thanks for watching.